There is something unique about the way people born in the 1960s look at money. It is not that they are stingy, though younger people sometimes think it is that. It is not that they are behind the times, though their ways can look that way to people raised on phone taps and buy now, pay later. It is something deeper, something built in, a link with money that was put into them before they had any choice in the matter. If you grew up in that time, you carry a money mindset that modern experts are only now starting to understand. And here is what's amazing. The very things that felt normal to you, the things you never thought twice about, turn out to be exactly what builds real financial strength. You did not learn this from books. You learned it with your hands, you're waiting, you're watching. And that gap matters more than almost anyone knows. Let us start with something so simple you probably never thought about its meaning. Picture yourself at 7 years old. Your mother gives you some coins, real coins, metal ones that have weight and feel cold or warm. She sends you to the local shop for bread and milk. You walk there alone, pick out what she asked for, give the cash to the person behind the desk, and wait for your change. You count it right there in front of them, because that is what you have been told to do. Then you walk home with coins still in your pocket, the change that belongs to your mother, kept apart in your mind from any coin that might be yours. This was not a class in finance. This was just a normal day. But something was happening in your brain that would not happen in a child who pays by tapping a bit of plastic against a screen. You were learning that money is a physical thing, that it leaves your hand and does not come back, that the coins you started with and the coins you ended with tell a story you can see and touch and count. Experts now call this real-world money learning. You just called it buying milk. Modern children learn that money is a number that shows up and goes away on screens. They never feel it leave. They never watch it get smaller. The link between spending and results is unclear, mental, just an idea. But for you, it was real and felt. You knew what money felt like long before you knew what it meant, and that physical knowing never left. But it was not just your own hands that taught you. Think about what you saw at the kitchen table. Your father sitting down with a pile of bills, writing checks one by one, closing envelopes, licking stamps. Your mother with her cash bag system, money split into groups before the week even began. Food, rent, power, each bag a limit, each limit a lesson. You watched this. You took it all in without anyone saying what they were doing or why. You saw the checkbook, the running count of what was left. You saw your mother count out bills at the shops, watching the total closely, sometimes putting something back on the rack. You saw your father's face when a surprise bill arrived, the quiet math happening behind his eyes. And yes, you probably heard fights. Money was one of the things grown-ups fought about, and the walls in most houses were not thick enough to hide it. You learned that money was serious, that it mattered, that it could make stress between people who loved each other, and that this stress was normal, not a disaster. None of this was hidden from you. Money was not a secret adult world you would be shown later. It was happening in front of you all the time, in ways you could see and hear and feel. Modern children grow up in a different money world. Their parents tap phones, click buttons, set up auto payments that happen unseen. Money moves in silence. The checkbook is gone. The bag system is an app if it exists at all. Fights about money might still happen, but the work of money, the physical acts of handling it, have vanished from view. What you saw gave you something those children do not get, a model, a mental picture of what handling money actually looks like. Before you ever earned your first pay, you had seen hundreds of hours of money work done right in your own home. That is not a small thing. Now, think about something you wanted as a child, really wanted. A bike, maybe a music player, that toy you saw in the shop window and could not stop thinking about. Here is what did not happen. Nobody pulled out a plastic card and bought it for you that day. Nobody clicked a button and had it brought the next day. Nobody said, "We will just put it on the card and figure it out later." Instead, you heard words that shaped your whole link with wanting and getting. Save for it. Maybe you got pocket money. Maybe you did small jobs around the street. Maybe there was a jar or a box or a piggy bank where coins piled up with very slow speed. Week after week, you watched your money grow toward the goal. And week after week, you did something that modern science thinks is one of the most vital signs of life success: waiting for a reward. But here is what is key. You did not do it because someone told you it was good for you. You did it because there was no other way. The world did not offer other choices. Instant was not an option. The waiting was not a choice you made. It was a way you lived. Researchers now know that waiting, like a muscle, gets strong with use, and your childhood was a non-stop daily workout. By the time you were a teenager, you had years of practice at wanting something, not getting it right away, and living through the wait. You did not know it then, but you were building brain paths that would help you for the rest of your life. Paths that many people raised in quick-fix cultures never make at all. There is an idea in psychology called the pleasure treadmill. It describes how humans get used to better things in their life, how the new car feels great for a month, then becomes just a car, how the bigger house feels grand until it just feels normal, how no matter what we get, we tend to go back to a basic level of being happy. The pleasure treadmill explains the strange emptiness of getting everything you want and still wanting more. But here is what is interesting about people who grew up in the 1960s. Many of them seem to treadmill. They get used more slowly to new things. They feel real joy in things that others take for granted. They do not need the next thing as fast or as much. Why? Because their base level was set differently. When you grew up with less, your idea for enough was set lower. When you waited months for things other people get in a day, you learned to get more joy from having it because you had spent so much time waiting. When you watched your parents find peace in being steady rather than gathering stuff, you took in a model for being happy that does not need constant more. You are not safe from wanting more, but you are less controlled by it, and that gap is worth more than most people know. Before we talk about debt, let us talk about something that came before it, the hard task of getting credit in the first place. Today, credit finds you. It comes in the mail already okayed. It pops up at the store. Split this into 4 costs. It is offered to 18-year-olds with no pay and no past. The standard answer is yes. The hard part has been taken out of the world completely. When you were growing up, credit was a gate, not a door standing open. Getting a credit card meant asking. It meant being checked by a person, not a machine. It meant proving you were worth being trusted with money that was not yours. Your parents might have had a store account at 1 or 2 shops, a link built over years, a right that could be taken away if they fell behind. A bank loan meant sitting across a desk from a boss who knew your family, who asked questions, who could say no, and often did. A house loan meant a big sum saved over years, not a low entry plan meant to get you in the door. Credit was limited. It was earned. It was not the water you swam in. This lack of it did something to your mind. It made credit feel important. Borrowed money was not fake money. It was serious money that serious people had decided to trust you with. The very hard way of getting it made you less likely to use it loosely once you had it. Modern credit has no friction, which means it is also weightless, easy to get, easy to use, easy to forget it is even debt at all. But you grew up when credit had friction, and that friction taught a kind of respect to you. Not fear, not staying away, just a knowing that borrowed money is different, that it comes with duties, that someone somewhere said you were good for it, and that this choice should not be taken lightly. That respect for credit does not go away, even when the worlds around you have changed totally. Let us talk about something that no longer exists in the same way, the social weight of debt. If your family owed money when you were growing up, it was not just a money fact, it was a social fact. The neighbors might know, the local shop owner might know, the bank boss. And there was a bank boss, a real person who knew your family by name for sure knew. Debt brought shame, not because your parents were silly, but because the town had not yet agreed to act as if owing money was normal. Being in debt meant something was wrong. Getting
Out of debt meant something had been fixed. The book was not private. It lived in the minds of people who knew you. This sounds hard by modern rules, but it made something strong. Outside pressure that became inner control. You did not just stay out of debt because of cost rates. You stayed out because of what it meant about you, about your family, about your spot in the world. Modern debt is unseen. It lives in apps and papers that no one else sees. There is no shop owner who knows you are in too deep, no neighbor who sees you are struggling. The social loop has been cut, and with it, a strong source of money control. You carry something that many younger people do not, a felt sense that debt is heavy, not just money heavy, mind heavy, social heavy. And that weight, however silly it might seem in a time of high debt, has likely kept you out of trouble more times than you know. Now, think about what status looked like when you were growing up. The rich family in your street, how did you know they were rich? It probably was not a bright car in the drive changed every 2 years. It probably was not brand clothes or big names or showing off of the kind that shows wealth today. It was quieter. Their house was well kept. They did not seem worried. They went on trips every year. They had a sense of being steady that showed without needing to shout. Status in that time was mostly about lasting. The man who kept his car for 15 years was not seen as someone who could not buy a new one. He was seen as someone who knew value. The woman who could make things last, fix things, stretch things, was not low class. She was good at life. This was the water you swam in. And without knowing it, you took in a view of money's success that had almost nothing to do with show and almost everything to do with strength. Modern status is a show. It needs constant proof. It demands that wealth be shown, updated, shared. And this makes a trap that many people fall into, spending money they do not have on things they do not need to show an image they cannot keep. But you learned a different game, where status came from not needing to prove anything, where the goal was not to look rich, but to be safe, where the deepest win was not what you bought, but what you could survive. That is not old-fashioned. That is smart. It is just that modern life has forgotten why. Here is something the old Greek thinker Epicurus understood 2,300 years ago, something that your childhood taught you without any philosophy lessons at all. Epicurus split human wants into 3 groups. First, real and needed wants: food, home, basic safety. These are quite easy to meet and give the deepest, most steady joy. Second, real but unneeded wants: luxury types of the basics, a nicer house, better food. These are harder to get and give less back. Third, what he called empty and vain wants: wealth just to have it, status, fame, non-stop gathering. These can never be met because they have no real limit. Epicurus said that the happiest people are those who focus on the first group, enjoy the second when it comes without needing it, and see
the third as a trap. You did not read Epicurus as a child, but you lived his view. Because when choices were few, you learned to find joy in what was there. When luxury was rare, you liked it without needing it. When status was judged by being steady rather than show, you took in a view of enough that actually had a limit. Modern life pushes people non-stop toward the third group: more, newer, better, seen. The goal moves before you reach it. The joy goes away before you can hold it. And people run on that treadmill for years, wondering why they never feel like they have arrived. You may run on it too sometimes, but you have something many of them do not: a memory of when the first group was enough, a point for joy that does not need to get higher, a floor below which you
no, you can be okay. That is not just old memories, that is mental strength. Let us talk about what happened when money got tight in your house, because at some point, for most homes, it did. Maybe your father's hours were cut, maybe a surprise cost hit, maybe there was a time where things were just harder than usual. And here's what you saw: your parents changing, not scared, not falling apart, changing. You learned to see the signs before anyone said a word. The way your mother stayed a little longer over the prices at the shops. The way your father stopped talking about the thing he had been aiming to buy. The soft shift in the air. Never said, but clear if you knew how to feel it. Meat became a smaller part of dinner. Extras went away without a talk. The heat stayed off a little longer. In the morning, new shoes waited another month. The trip was put off or stopped. And nobody acted like it was a tragedy, just a fact. And life went on. You probably did not mind it. Kids are very good at changing when the adults around them were not falling apart. What you saw was not lacking. It was being good at life. You watched adults fix a problem in real time, using only control and change. No help, no feeder, just a rethink of what was possible until things changed again. And here is what is key. You saw the other side. You saw things get better again. You learned that tight was not forever, that it was a season, that it ended. This gave you something that people who have never seen lack do not have, the knowing that you can go through hard times and come out the other side. You learned something from this that no money lesson can teach. Being able to change is survival. You saw that budgets could get small, that wants could be put off, that trouble was something you passed through rather than something that broke you. Modern money life offers non-stop pads against this learning. Credit cards take the hits, payment plans hide the breaks. The lesson of real lack, that you can want something, not have it, and be fine, is one many people never learn because they are never forced to. But you learned it young, and it gave you something very valuable. A quiet confidence that, if things get hard, you will work it out. Not because you are special, but because you have seen it.
Done. Because the model lives in you. There is a line from the money writer Morgan Housel that says something true. Use money to get control over your time. Because not having control of your time is such a strong and common drag on joy. The power to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want to, pays the highest gain that exists in money. This sounds like modern wisdom, but it is actually old. And people who grew up in the 1960s often feel it in their bones, even if they have never said it this way. Because you watched your parents trade time for money, clearly and openly. The hours were long. The weekends were not always free. The deal was clear. Time goes in, money comes out. And somewhere, even as a child, you knew that the money was only good because of what it could one day buy back, which was time. Time with family, time without worry, time to do what mattered. Modern life hides this trade. Work goes into nights, into weekends, into trips. The rate between time and money becomes blurry, changing, always put off. People aim for pay without seeing what they are spending in hours, in being there, in life. But you carry an older, clearer way, one where the goal of money was never gathering for its own sake, but freedom. The freedom to stop working, the freedom to pick. The freedom your parents may or may not have reached, but clearly wanted. That clarity about what money is for is worth more than most money plans. It keeps you looking at something real, while others chase numbers that never feel like enough. Here is what all of this means. You did not build better money values than younger people. Values are not the gap. The gap is how you were raised. Your world taught mental traits that modern worlds actively make weak. You learned to wait because waiting was a must. You feel money leave because you watched it leave your hand. You carry debt as a weight because your town once waited. You judge status by strength because that is what your world judged. You know how to want less because you did it every day of your childhood. None of this makes you a better person. It makes you mentally different, shaped by states that no longer exist for a set of tests that still do. The modern world is made to split people from their money as fast and easily as possible. Every block has been taken away. Every weight has been removed. Every want can be met right now. And the result is a group of people in massive wealth, while somehow feeling more money stress than ever. You come from somewhere else, somewhere that made things harder in ways that turned out to be useful. Your money instincts were not told to you. They were built into you, brick by brick, coin by coin, weight by weight.
That is not something to just be sad about. That is something to understand. Because in knowing it, you can finally see what you carry. And in a world that has forgotten how to wait, how to feel money leave, how to judge wealth by safety instead of show, what you carry might be exactly what others need to learn.